right, hey guys, Sam here with you on, what are we, Wednesday? What is today? Wednesday, August 1st. All right, so we're going to do a couple of things today. So we're going to do a quick update on Bitcoin. So we had a little price action here, and then we polled the Twitter followers today. Let them decide what the other coin that was going to be analyzed today would be. And they've chosen Strat to Bitcoin. So we'll do those two here today, but let's get our Bitcoin update done first. So here, this is a 12-hour, this is 720 minute on Bitfinex, Bitcoin to the dollar, of course. Now this would be kind of a bird's eye view of the bullish count on the assumption that we have down here completed a WXY, and that we are in the process of putting in what would be a pretty textbook impulsive structure here to give us a one wave and start that whole process and moving up higher to what would be some refreshing levels to be revisiting here. I don't know that we can get to a new all-time high off of this count here, but we'll have to see. So that's a lot of things have to happen before we get there. But the good news is that we're going to get some clarity here, because this will define what's going to happen for the foreseeable future for Bitcoin. If we do not get this 4-5, then this count is in trouble. Because as you can see here now, just with the very, very basic fib pulls here, so working from what I propose is a B wave high here, working from this pull here to this low, we've gone right up to the golden zone. It literally went to the tick to the 65, couldn't get through, and it gets rejected. So bears win that one. As to whether or not we can get back up and re-challenge and get through it and get up to that algo target, well, that remains to be seen. Now, keep in mind that the algos that sold there, they have a target down here. So it is certainly possible that this is going to, what I have labeled as a 1, 2, 3, could very well end up being an ABC, and we're in the process of putting in what would be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the one wave taking us down to get towards that target. So how do we know? Well, we don't know. We aren't going to know until we see what kind of reaction we get here. Now, it's some interesting things. So you can see, right? So even here on this longer term, as we've come down and retraced, we've kind of come back to this area of prior. You could draw it here if you wanted to. I forgot my little fill. Let's get a little fill in there so we can see it. Okay, so that'll work. Okay, so you can see this area here where we have just congestion, indecision. Are we going higher? Are we going lower? So coming back here to this area here, and we have some other, you can see here, this is worth wicking off. So this pivot here looks like that's getting challenged right now. So prior resistance, potentially now offering some support here. Of course, you can see the Vegas wave is sitting here just below where we sit now. Now, take note here, this is the Vegas wave. So note the 233 is above and the 144 is below. So while we're revisiting the Vegas wave, we're revisiting with this inconclusive here. Yes, we've broken through, but we haven't had a full flip, right? So we don't have the 144 in front of the 169 in front of the 233. So that if we're going to get that will be a bit of a tell if we get this push here to give us a completed 5-wave structure, give us, in this case, potentially now if we hold the 50 here, we're set up for just literally a textbook impulsive wave to give us a 1. Well, Bitcoin has not been prone to doing things that are just textbook. So the question now becomes, do we hold here? Can we analyze? Can we get down into the nitty gritty of this retrace here and see if we have the ingredients? So if you're a bull, of course, we would be looking for an ABC, as you would anticipate, to find some support in here for that 4th wave and then the push up to confirm this being a 1 wave, that we have this 5-wave structure here, that we break the 65, we get up to this algo target, be pushing the 786. Interesting how the algo target is right on top of the 786. But this structure here, I think, would certainly put the ball in the bull's camp. Then we let that play and then wait for the retracement here, and then the big play will be catching wave 2 into wave 3. So a lot of things have to happen. So let's break this down. Now, Let's see here. Let's see. Let's do it here. I've got it in a couple of places. So let me just show you this here. So this is literally right off of the membership Discord. These are two areas of interest that I've identified, certainly, that I'm watching here. So note here, I've got a GAN angle on this. I've got to tweak this here as I just moved away here. So when you've got a GAN angle here, what's important is that you have your 1 by 1 in alignment with a 45-degree angle. So what you need to do when you have that issue, you need to lock the scale. Once you lock the scale, then you don't lose that, right? So if you zoom in or out, it holds the scale and you maintain that 45-degree. So you can see here, this is our 1 by 1, which has been kind of interestingly framing the market here as we got above it. You know, the idea is bullish above, bearish below. Well, here's our 2 by 1, potentially now coming in to offer some support right here at the 50. Now, note here I've got multiple, well, pardon me, I've got one pitchfork on it. So from this pivot high up here, if I've got that, oh, get in there. When you change time frames, you got to tighten them up. That looks fairly good. So you can see here I've got an A, B, and the question is now we've come down here. So, of course, here's your corner pocket right here. Right, so yes, we broke the 65, but we know a B wave can go anywhere from the 50 to 786. So here's your corner pocket. Just got there. Right, 80% probability if that pivot holds that we get to the median line. So we got that. Now we've come to the algo target here. Now this is, again, we broke the 65, but yet here we come right to the target here. Now we've gotten through the target. So let's take that off. So here's our 38, and this prior little shelf that I had drawn up here, prior resistance, ultimately gets broken. You know, we've wicked through it here, so it wasn't a dead stop and return, but that's why that was an area of interest. So some of us have been buying here at this area here. It's got a little, took some drawdown here on this move here, about 150 bucks. But so far we're holding here. It wouldn't surprise me terribly if we have another push down here to revisit the median line, catch the 2 by 1 here, and then head up. But that, we'll see. We'll see. So what can we do? Well, we can pick apart this C wave here to see if we can get any tells as to whether or not we've got a clean, clear 5 wave, any divergence, anything to suggest that we've got a good pivot here. I think it's hard to be definitive here yet, as there's a real opportunity, real possibility there's one more push down here. Now that would be something really significant here if we can come down here and get this perfect intersection. Well, let's take that off. So do you see this here where I've got this perfect X here where I've got my 2 by 1 up sloping for some potential support right in conjunction with the 50, and then the second algo target here, the negative 618. So if we come back down here, for those of us that bought here in this zone, this is an area to, I guess, reconfirm your bullish bias in the market. If you're going to be a buyer there, you'd be averaging down your price. So you got to be, thoughtful about doing that. So depending on the size here, so what we were suggesting was this was an appetizer size bite. This would be a full meal. So if you took a little piece of it here, the idea that you might take some drawdown and look for a better entry down here would allow you to essentially split the difference here. So you'd average down your fill. Stop needs to be conservative here, because if you're averaging down here and this is going to start to roll, if we break the 50, then I think that's reducing the probability that we push up and head towards that new high. So for a 4th wave, ideal range here is 38 is fine. Getting through it, not a big deal. But if we're going to break the 50, now we lose that. Algos will defend to the 618, but you'd prefer to see the turn at the 50 if we're going to go down that low. So 2 areas to watch. Now let's see if we can dig into what has been a really somewhat bizarre move as we've gone down here. So let's see, where do I have it here? Yeah, okay, so here it is. So this is a 1 hour. All right, so here's the Elliott count that we're trying to play as bulls. We've got our 1, 2. This ultimately ends up being the 3, and we're in the process of retracing this, seeking our 4th. Now it may have gone in here. This activity around the median line is interesting. Again, we have this. This area of prior, this whole area really from here, all of this is just a cluster of indecision. So the fact that we've come back down and we're revisiting this, not terribly surprising. If there's a push down here, again, to get that perfect pivot right here. Well, so look, in conjunction here, so we looked at it over here, we have the 2x1 Gann angle, but over here we have the median line, the lower parallel here. And see, now I've drawn it. So on this side here, I've got a Gann angle on it. I will check both. All right, I'm looking for confluence. So on this side, I've got a pitchfork on it. Now we've gone all the way up to the 200%, 200 from the median line. All right, here's 1, 2. Now coming down here, that 50 is lining up with the lower parallel here. So I get a kind of a double banger here. I've got my Gann angle kicking in right here, and I've also got my lower parallel kicking in. So this would be a very interesting area if it's offered to be looking for buys. So if it's offered and we can get that move there, that's the target. So what's that risk reward? So this, you got to just do a little math here and say, well, is it worth taking the risk? Well, if you were going to be, so there's, if you stops under the 65, well, really, you could even go, the other side of the 1 is not a bad thing to think, but then you're only at 3.2 to 1. So you got to really consider whether or not you're comfortable taking that much drawdown for this count to be invalidated, at least as an impulse, to be invalidated with this move taking out the one-wave high. So I'd be inclined to say no, I'd split the difference. What we're looking for is a pivot here on the median line in the 50. No reason to ride that down, so I would tighten that up here. I might be just underneath this pivot here. So that gives us, when we get there, now we get 9.86 to 1. So then you got to draw your own conclusions there as to whether or not that risk is worth that potential reward. Are you a bull? Are you a bear? Well, I mean, you got to make a decision here, right? So is that a business decision you can live with here? Is 9.86 to 1 enough reward to take that risk? Because we aren't going to know until we see this. Well, we got to come up and challenge this high. Algo target's sitting there. So we know algos will be buyers here, but we're dealing with the algos that were sellers here. So it's always a fib fight between algorithms that are just doing what they're programmed to do, sell 50s and take profit at target. So we shall see. Now let's break into this a little more detail, see if we can draw any benefit from picking it apart. So with those pivots established here, I'm going to just to clean up the chart so we've got a couple of median lines that are in play here. So let's look here now, see if we can make sense of this. Can we get a decent count on it? Well, the problem area with this count is this right here. Right? What the hell do we do with that? I don't have a good answer for you. So I've got a good A here, right? This very very easy to identify. I've got a 3-wave B. I suppose one alternate would be that we put in our B here, and that we have so that we'd have it this way. So within this B wave, we'd have some sort of A, B, C here. Yeah, boy, it's really, I don't love that. It feels a little bit like a force fit there to try and come up with some way that this can work, because the problem is here, this pivot takes out this pivot. So we can't go 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 can't take out the 2. So it would have to be something along these lines here where I suppose we could do it this way here as well, where we'd have A, B, C into a B and then kick up for this C, but it's really tough to pull any kind of subdivision out of that move here. So this is just a problem area. Is it this? Is it this? At this point, I don't know that it really matters. We know we have this area up here that is clearly was resistance as we look at this. So A here, A here. Again, I don't know that it matters, but as we rip down, so what are we looking for? Well, we've got our A wave, we've got some B in over here, and now we're trying to see, well, can I get a clean 5 coming down here to increase the probability that I'm approaching a pivot as I complete the A, the B, and the C? Well, we certainly, from this pivot here, if we allow for this, to be our 1 wave, if this is our 1, this is our 2, well, I can get a very clear impulse in my 3rd here. Right? So we're playing this C wave as an impulsive move down. So this, as we move sideways and double top here, well, note what happens here. Prior resistance, prior support, offering that resistance. So this was significant. Tap, tap, can't get it. Bears take it down. This looks much more indicative of a fourth to me. So 1, 2, there's my clean impulse in my third, ABC into my fourth. Well, of course, we'd check that as we would any third wave, looking for anything to help us here. So from that second to the proposed third here, get that right there. So look, well, what did we do here? Well, we just did a couple of double taps here at the 23.6. This prior support kicks in the resistance, and it looks like we've got one more push down. We'll take note what we see down here. We'll look at the algo target literally on top of the 50. So at this point, you're almost, even though some of us bought it up above, this cleans the count up. So if it comes down here, I have more confidence in this buy than I did in this one, because now I can get my arms around this C wave coming down as a potential fourth. Now I do not want to see it heading down to the 618. That's reducing probabilities of going back up to challenge this high to complete this impulse. So if we are going to come down, and this is all shaping up as a 4, I'm not terribly sad to see it come down here, create that other opportunity, average in the two prices, so you'd essentially have a fill between the 38 and the 50, averaging those two together. Personally, I will buy a little heavier here than I did here because of this formation. Anything here to help us? Well, we're starting to get a little bit of divergence. So if we're playing this as a 1, we've had this potentially now. Look here. So we get a 3, 4, and we get divergence into the 5th of the 3rd. So I have a good candidate here for my 3rd in green. We at least make it to 0. That would be a qualifier for getting to the 4th wave. And if we're going to push down, the ingredients are there to, again, hypothetically, assume we come down here to the 50 and the negative 23.6. We get a pivot there. It's very likely that we are not going to be doing it so abruptly to challenge this. So we have oscillator divergence here. You can like this, right? So now, of course, we'll watch it, and we don't know that it stops there, but that's something to be paying attention to, as potentially now we have the signs of a potential pivot being set up to complete the ABC, have oscillator divergence. We've got price, we've got pattern, we've got an algo entry, we've got an algo target, we've got a median line, right? Don't forget we have that median line that's up here. So if I grab this, again, question is, what are we pulling from? Well, if we're going over here, we're through it. Are we going back here? I'm inclined to go with this pivot right here. So that was part of the reason for the buy here at the 38. Well, look here. Now we might come back down and revisit it again. So look at the confluence that we have here. So we have a median line. We have a 5-wave structure potentially completing. We have oscillator divergence. We have an algo target, and we have an algo buy at the 50. That's a big cluster down there. So, I mean, I can't, that's pretty much, well, what else are we, anything on the volume profile? If we were going to come down here, well, we'd be pushing the edge of 2 standard deviations away from that. So, I mean, there's not much more I can put in front of you to offer confluence that's an opportunity to consider getting long. Right now, if you're a bear, so what's a bear looking at? All right, so a bear might be thinking that this is just 1, 2, and we're in the process of putting in the 3. We go up for the 4. So here's the bear's perspective. If you're a bear and you just like, man, I don't buy any of that. I think all we've done is an ABC and we're going down. Well, what are you looking at? Well, you're looking at a 1. What I have labeled as an A, that's a 1. Some sort of a 2 has gone here. I've got an impulse going down. That's 3. So where's your 3 going to end? Well, if I had shorted right here and I had a target, well, that's where I'm going to get out, because I know full well there's an algorithm that's going to kick in ahead of that 50 and buy it there. So why do I want to give any profit back? Again, I don't know that we get there, but if we're getting there, and I were short here, which I am not, I'm long. If I were shorting this, that would be my exit. Why? Because what I'd be anticipating, if this is 1, 2, 3, well, I'm looking for a 3, 4, or pardon me, for an ABC before we go down. Now we're going to challenge the 65 on this end. So think about that. So we know this pivot up here was to the tick to the 65, as I showed you on the longer term. Well, if we're going to go 3, 4, 5 and come down here, and that's going to be a, what would that be? If that's a C wave, then that's just your 1 wave. Well, that implies substantially lower prices. If this is just the 1 wave completing here, off of that ABC. Well, we'll go back here to the longer term. Well, let's see. Where do I have? Yeah, I have it over here. Right, so here, if this is just ABC, and we're just in the process of putting in a one wave here, so this would all get relabeled as this. So this is, a bear's looking at this going, okay, some sort of one's going into 3, 4, 5. Let's say you get that. Let's go to white so we can see it a little better. Yeah, let's get that to white. All right, so what would that mean? So that means that the whole correction is incomplete. We'd had an ABC into this, and now we're just going down in 5 to give us a 1 wave or an A wave. We don't know. Do we get 5? A lot of that there's no way to tell here until you see what happens. Do you get a 2? Do you get a 3? Either way, if you're on the bearish side, right? Well, you may not want to be a buyer because you're bearish. You want to stay with that directional bias, so you'd be looking for the sell at the 2. Either way, the odds are there's a retrace here. Either the retrace of what a bear would be proposing is the 1 wave retracing into the 2, or if you're a bull as I am and you're seeing 1, 2, 3 and the 4s going in, question is where does this pivot come? Do we break it here and get a 5, or do we hold here between the 50 and the 786 and then head down for the 3? I mean, there's no way to know. We are in between, so there's no way to confirm it. So you have to take a stance. I'm either a bull or I'm a bear, because the trading opportunities are right here, right now. So if you're a bull, you need to be watching closely here. And if you're a bear, well, all you're looking for is the next pivot. And you're waiting for, do you get a 3 wave? Do you get 3 going into your 2? Let's say we come down here, we hit the golden zone. Wouldn't be surprising. We know Bitcoin likes the gold. Do we get an ABC into a 2? Right? And even that's going to be problematic for you, because you don't know if that's 1, 2, 3 going in for the 5th wave. Do we get 3, 4, and 5 to complete what I'm proposing is going to be a 1 wave? So what's the alternate, right? So you're looking at it and go, shit, man, if you don't know, how the hell am I supposed to know? If you want to be more conservative, well, here's the first thing to understand. Nobody knows. This is all just probabilities. Right? There's all just probabilities as we analyze this. Nobody knows what's going to happen here. But what we can say is, where are if 1 or 2 of these alternatives are going to be realized, there are going to be tells where we can refine our analysis based on those tells. So right now we're in between. No way to confirm until we see the next swing. Which way does it go? So if you want to be ultra conservative, you just sit and you wait. No trade is a trading decision. Lack of clarity. So you wait and find out, do I get this going up here and get 5? If I get 5, well, now I'm not confused about what the next trade is. Now I'm just sitting and waiting for the wave 2 to be a buyer. Now, ultra aggressive, you want to short into that? It's not the trade I would make, but I'd be taking profit here. I'd be waiting for the retrace to be a buyer again, looking for the 3rd. Right, so I mean, or if we don't get that, so if you're on the sideline saying, man, I'm not sure, man, not enough clarity, not enough certainty. Well, if you're looking for certainty, that's probably the wrong business for you. But I don't like the probabilities. How about that? So you wait and see, do I get this? Well, technically you'd be looking for this. Do I get this thing coming down, because it's already coming down? Am I going to go up 2 and go down 3 and 4 and 5? Is that what's happening? Well, if that's the case, then then the same thing. You're just looking for the 2 over here, anticipating that this is going much lower, right? I'm having trouble getting these hot. So if you're going here, you're looking for much lower prices. So now maybe we're back to that 3,200 target, right? So maybe here's second algo target right there. Remember, right? So this algo sold it here. There's first target. Second target. None says they can't get to second target. If this is going to go down here and this is going to end up being just a 1 wave and this is going to be a 2, well, no reason 3 couldn't be down here. 4 and 5, the whole thing inverts, right? And now we're going much lower. So how big of a bear are you? Right? You see that happening? Going back to 2000? Shit, man, anything's possible. I certainly don't think that's likely. So So talk is cheap, right? So I put my money where my mouth. I'm a buyer. Well, I guess it's pretty well established that I'm very long of Bitcoin and continue to be a bull. But that's just me, right? So what I'm trying to do here is teach you how to do this analysis yourself, so that you don't have to listen to what I'm doing. I can teach this to you, but there's no way to confirm this. There's nothing I can show you here to confirm what's happening. We aren't going to know until the next set of pivots. So more conservative, you sit and wait. Are we getting 5, or was that just an ABC? Nothing wrong with taking that stance. You don't you don't have to be in the market at all times. When in doubt, get the hell out. Just sit quietly on the sidelines and watch and wait. You don't have to be in the market at all times. Let this clarify. Certainly the entire cryptosphere is mixed about what's happening here. For every bull, there's a bear. So if you want to take that conservative approach, wait and let this show its hand. Right now, you're just in between. So if you're waiting, you're allowing for this trade, whatever trade ends up being right, you're allowing for that. You're letting that trade go to wait for more certainty and more confirmation of what's actually happening there. All right, guys, I kind of went long there. I didn't really mean to go that long. So let's just back where we sit here. This is, as I will leave it with you here, pay attention to that median line. Right, this is going to be definitely an area that will be a tell. Now, if we just blow right through this and we keep heading down, well, then bulls are in trouble. The bullish account is in trouble. If this keeps going down, well, here's your critical level, 69.12. Well, let's call it 69.33 on Bitfinex. Are we breaking the 65 on the way down? If we do, trend change. Then the next algo play is going to be the 50 for the move to the new target. Right, that'll be they'll sell the next 50 for the move to the next target, and we're going much lower. I do not think that's what's happening. That is what's happening, but we shall see. Right? Isn't that Trump's favorite line? We shall see. All right, so we will see. All right, that's 26 minutes. That's probably long enough. All right, guys, I've got one more to do today. We'll be back with a look at Strat to Bitcoin.